Well, it's time for another edition of In the Circle. And today we have Bradley coach Sarah Willis with us, who you're going to hear, but you're probably not going to see her today. And In the Circle is always presented by Rawlings. And coach, welcome in. I know you got a little bit of a raspy voice, but thanks for joining us today. And we're going to talk a little bit of softball. So thanks for hopping on.
Yes, ma'am. Thanks for bearing with me.
You got it. As we were talking, it's springtime in the Midwest, and you're in and out of great weather, so you're bound to have a little bit of whatever it might be,
Something, yeah.
a little bit of something. So let's we're 4 weeks away, or 4 weekends left, I guess I should say, in the conference play. So let's kind of have a little mid-season checkup on your team. Kind of give us a report card of how you are seeing your team evolve from the beginning of the year.
Yeah, there's definitely been a lot of, growth this year or growing pains, depending on which side of the coin you look at it. We certainly scheduled a preseason, a very challenging preseason, non-conference schedule so that we could prepare for the top of the valley. If you take a look at everybody in the valley, usually the top dogs are doing it that way. So we really went out and thought we had the team this year to challenge ourselves mentally and physically and kind of expose ourselves to just some higher level ball in general. Definitely discovered a lot about ourselves and really trying to take those growing moments and apply them here. This conference season, we've had some ups and we've definitely had some downs, especially with performing really well against UNI and certainly a top opponent there. And obviously all of our would have traditionally been our bottom ranked Valley opponents. I've been having some upsets and grabbing some games here and there, and certainly, this past weekend against Valparaiso was a disappointment. There's no other way to say it. Knew we could have definitely showed up a lot better, offensively on certain games, and then certainly, in the circle on another. So, right now it looks like to me, our report card would be, we got to make sure, bats and the pitching's going at the same time. But I'm
Mhm.
sure that's what every other coach feels out there at times. Defense, with the exception of that last Valpo game, has been really great. And, we've had some changes on the infield, prior to Valley starting just because of some injuries. But those young ladies have really stepped up and have done a great job and have learned to grow together rather quickly, which is great to see. I think the adaptability piece is what I'm most proud about this program this year. For those that are, on the field and have been asked to adapt and who have asked to be, like I said, whether it's a little uncomfortable or not, they're learning to get comfortable with those circumstances and those situations. And we definitely are, like I said, it's sometimes it's a little bit of a roller coaster. But then again, you are asking 18 to 22-year-olds to be really consistent. And that's the challenge we're facing right now. I'd like to see better consistency in our approach and in our mindset, focusing on the things that count, like the next 10 seconds rather than what happened, yesterday's game. Can't carry that. You gotta be a quick recovery. You gotta be a quick learner here. So those are the things we're going to continue to work on and preach and improve on. When we're focusing on doing the little things right, we play really good ball. So that's what we're going to keep preaching. That's what we're going to try to keep, dripping on them throughout the year.
Well, and that's, as you get to this point of the season, and just looking at the standings, you're kind of battling to try to get into that fourth spot
Yep.
for a conference tournament. So how much of that do you talk to the team about, trying to make that run down the stretch to get you into the top four so you don't have to play that first day of the tournament?
Yeah, it's always an interesting question. I haven't brought up too much on the standings just yet to the team, and that's why you kind of go back and forth on how much onus and how much, do you push upon that, and are they going to respond to that type of pressure, or are they going to respond better to focusing on, the next series, the next game, and if you take care of the next game in front of you, the standings are going to take care of themselves. So that's a little bit of the certainly the conversation that's definitely in the background. Definitely more of the spotlight starting to get on that as you've played, you're halfway through. So you got to take some, you got to take some inventory on those things, and you got to really check and see, all right, who do we really need to take care of? Where can we grab a game if that's the projection? Of course, I always like disrupting the projections. That's always fun. So, you know, but yeah, certainly, Laura, that's definitely been part of a conversation, part of the reality. And like you said, it's hard when you take care of, and you do a great job showing up and putting out, against a really great, formidable team in the Valley, like you and I. And again, nothing, with Valparaiso, but we certainly played a much harder schedule than them. We definitely were, challenged a lot more in terms of RPI and other things like that. It almost negated what we did that prior weekend. It's hard to not see it that way, but now what do, right? We got to keep moving forward. We got to keep pressing on. We got to we got to play a very good Carbondale here team.
Mhm.
They have, great depth with their pitching staff. And man, what a lineup, right? I know we've had success against that lineup before. So certainly we're going to focus on how we've had that success. And I know our program tends to really play up really well when we perceive the opponent being tough. So I think that's where we take care of the tough ones, and we play them hard, we play them close, and then we got to figure out how to bring our tough
Mhm.
consistently. It's the consistency piece. That's kind of where I loop back to my earlier conversation there.
Right. Yeah, I think you just got to tell them everybody's tough. Everybody's
Everybody
tough.
is. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And you got to really believe it too. There's no, you're not going to see any float. Sometimes you
Yeah.
hear the verbiage in your kids' mouths and you're like, hold on. Where did you get float from a pitcher? We're like, no, there's no float. You're not seeing any float guys this weekend. What are you talking about? Like, no, like let's get back to exactly though. And it shouldn't matter who you're playing. It really shouldn't. You should be bringing your Bradley softball every single day. That's because that's the only standard. That's the expectation. And if you don't, someone puts you in check, right? Like let's go. Let's go.
Yep.
Let's pick it up. Let's go. Keep rowing.
Yeah.
So
I
those are the messages.
Yeah, I agree. And you've referenced the Valpo series. I want to go to the last game.
Yes.
Kind of a crazy finish. And so just kind of
Okay.
walk us through that last
Well,
half inning. It was so crazy. I had to watch it a couple of different times to
yeah,
see what happened. But you
yeah,
were up
it,
one, right? And
yep,
bases loaded. So take
yep.
it from there.
Oh man, yeah, we're up one, bases loaded, and certainly, the leadoff gets on, which they're two-hole hitter. She's scrappy. She hadn't gotten on yet and hadn't burned us, and she, found a spot in the outfield there. And we always said with their three-hole, yeah, I mean, she's one heck of a hitter. She swings it. She's got the walks for a reason. We said that one kid in particular, she wasn't gonna beat us. So, kind of an unintentional, intentional walk, what you call it there, base, and then a big strikeout,
Mhm.
that was a huge moment right there. So kind of interesting enough, because when we were the coaching staff in the dugout, we're really watching hard the runner on second, because she's leaving early. So we know we have a call left there. We've done it before. It's helped us with a Valley win before. But we didn't have to use that. We somehow, I always say sometimes better be lucky than good. No, it took us to be good in that moment too, because Skeeter, we call her, Addie Welsh, our shortstop, phenomenal year defensively she's having for us, makes some great plays that nobody else can. And she takes a ricochet off of Sydney in the circle, and nice little assist. And nobody's looking. We get the out at third. You see Ashley breathing with her hands up. I mean, like, you just can't make this stuff up. I mean, if I was going to say anything about this team this year, on and off the field, you just can't make this stuff up. It's just this group. So I mean, hey, we'll take a win. It was, and sometimes us coaches call them ugly wins. A win is a win, and winning is hard at times. So we will take a win, and we will look to build off of that. And yeah, that was a remarkable moment. Sometimes, again, you think you see it all. Just wait, just wait. There's another game. You're probably going to see something else too.
It first of all, it is that ball came firing off of Sydney Kennedy's
Yes.
leg. So
Yep.
first of all, is she okay, or does she
She
just have a
is.
big
It
old
it got
bruise?
her. Nope, it got her on the thigh. So you're you're good if you get one off the thigh as a pitcher. She said it didn't hurt her that much. I'm sure just the adrenaline was going as it is. So, I just told her. I mean, it was very strategic of her to feed it to Sid, or feed it to Skeet so that we could get the double play out. So.
Yeah, I mean, just never, it just glances off of her, never hits the ground, right into Welsh's glove, and you turn the double play to get out of a
Yep.
jam.
Well, next play, right? Next play.
Yeah.
You got to create on the fly. That's sometimes the adaptability piece. Our defense has stepped up at times when, we've sometimes some of the things we're trying to target and work on, the leadoff walks, those have been a little bit of our downfall this year, and where
Mhm.
we've been adding a lot of, extra runs on the board, or an extra 60 feet, where I'd rather have someone beat us, to get on, rather
Mhm.
than being given to, because that stat is just a little over 66% of the time they're scoring there. And yeah, that sounds about right if I go back through all the times we did that. So, again, it was a remarkable moment, an adaptable moment. There's some good resiliency on that infield there with our group, and they're gritty and they're going to play hard. That's for sure. So, yeah, nonetheless, it was nice to walk away with that win.
Well, and hopefully it'll give you some momentum moving forward. And,
Yep.
you know, let's talk a little bit about Sydney Kennedy. She has been lights out, second in the Valley in strikeouts this season. I think she's number one in the Valley in innings pitched. So you're
Hmm.
using her a lot, but she
Yep.
seems to be that workhorse, and it doesn't seem to bother all that work. She is steady and constant and always around the plate.
Yeah, yeah, no, sure. Sydney's definitely used to, even from her junior college. She came from DMAC. She was always the workhorse there too. So we knew what we were getting with her. Definitely working on, the stamina piece, and she's not going to see any time today here against SIU. We're going to let our other pitchers work and get the innings that they're needing to work on, and work through some things there. So no, but yeah, Sydney's definitely, it's second round for her with us in terms of the number of innings. She's still doing a great job. I know at times she's a bit of a perfectionist, and it's not as good as what she wants it to be, but the scouting report's out though. This is year two. This is where you got to be a little grittier. You got to be a little bit more adaptable again. And, it's not that it was easy before by any means, but like I said, the scouting report's out, and, you're kind of reinventing the look a little bit at times,
Mhm.
and just trying to work that deception, or just the way you're going to call a game and the way you're going to execute your game. So all things she's focusing on, for this back half here.
Well, you mentioned Addie Welsh, and so first of all, I want to know where she gets the nickname from, Skeeter. But talk about workhorse or Iron Woman, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
201 straight starts for
Yep.
this young lady. I mean, she's out there day in and day out, no matter
Yep.
what. And
It
talk about
is.
how her game has evolved.
I mean, it's been wonderful. I came into the program, and it was, her sophomore year. So I've had the privilege to coach Addie here for 3 years now. And yeah, just, well, one, the IQ has always been there. The love for the game, the passion. I don't think it's not about the endurance of it all, but I don't think you come out and play as hard as you play like Skeet does consistently like that, unless you just have a pure passion for the game and you're loving every moment of it. Even when it's the most terrible moment out there, you're probably loving that moment more than anything else that you could do in this world, right? So that's just her in a nutshell. She's definitely a big heart in this program. She's definitely the steadfast kid that you can look to, and she's been a great mentor, especially to some of our young ones that are on the infield and seeing that starting time now. So she's a great extra hand. She's a great extra coach on and off the field. A great mentor. Now, Skeet, I don't. I can't take I can't take the onus on that nickname. That was the former Bradley coach, Amy Hayes. I believe Skeets told me the story again. I'm probably gonna butcher it, but basically, the way she moves looks like a skeet bug. A skeeter bug that's
Oh,
skimming on the water. So then the nickname came Skeeter. Like Skeeter bug there, because you know
okay.
what, that's true too. Because sometimes in her at bat, she's just never gonna die. So it's just kind of, like I said, she's a pest, she's a menace, all the things that she loves to be. She's irritatingly fun with the coach and staff. You know what I mean? She's just
Right.
that kid that she's real certain about who she is. which is always a breath of fresh air because, again, you're working with 18 to 22-year-olds who are constantly evolving and changing and thinking they're, this way or that way, or just, trying to be something they're not. And she's Skeet. That's just who she is. So, like I said, can't take the credit, and it took some time getting used to call it. But it didn't take that much time, honestly. I was like, Skeeter home, like, okay, sure, if that's what you want me to call you, and now saying Addie Welsh, that sounds wrong. So, that's the fun part
Sure.
about the nickname. So
Right. You kind of grow into your nicknames. It seems it'll stick with her for life, I'm
I
sure.
think she will always be Skeet. Yep, she will. It's in the phone that way, so there it stays.
Well, Coach, thanks for joining us today. Looking forward to seeing you down the road and at the conference tournament. I hope you feel better, and
Thank you.
good luck the rest of the way.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you for having me.